A very good day to all of you. Today we will be discussing about a topic which is very important and very crucial to all of us irrespective of our branch and discipline, that is disaster management in smart cities. Myself, Professor Juned N Bhojawala from Government Engineering College, Dahod, will be delivering this lecture. I would like to thank our principal sir, Dr. KB Judal sir, and my head of department, Dr. Paresha Varia ma'am, for motivating me. So now let's start. So the first and foremost thing is the learning outcomes of this lecture. So we will be understanding about the disaster management in smart cities. The challenges will be analyzed for urban disasters. What is the role of technology in planning and planning of this disaster? The course outcome which will be covered here will be the identifying the components of infrastructure and preparing an infrastructure plan for a smart city. This course outcome will be addressed here. Revised Bloom's taxonomy mapping is provided here, like remembrance, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating and creating. So this is the mapping of revised Bloom's taxonomy. Now let's move on to another slide. So first and the foremost thing is we will understand what is a disaster. So disaster is a serious disruption in functioning of a community or a society which is caused by hazardous event. So any hazardous event which causes disruption in a society is called disaster. Now what are the results of a disaster? What are the outcomes of the disaster? So first and the foremost thing is human life loss, material and economic damage, environmental degradation, and exceeds the capacity of the community to cope up using its own resources. Means collective efforts are required to cope up with disaster. Like it disrupts the functioning, it affects the services, infrastructure and daily life activities. The magnitude is, as we discussed, it is exceeding the local coping capacity. Coping capacity requires additional assistance. Disaster combines of two things, that is hazard and vulnerability. It is somewhat unexpected, difficult to prepare for. Now here we will be discussing about what is the role, what is the need of disaster management. So smart cities face natural and man-made disasters. As you can see, floods, earthquake, cyber attacks, industrial accidents and pandemics are some form of disasters. Urban life depends upon disaster resilience. Resilience of infrastructure, resilience of governance and technology, which ensures safety of the community. It is very much essential for sustainable development, which safeguards our economy, environment and society. Now let us see the current trends of disaster. Flood accounts 77% of disasters in India. 56% of the smart cities are prone to flooding, and 11 flood events are recorded per district in last 18 years. So by this we understand the gravity, the seriousness of the situation. As per the case studies of Seeds and CRED report, data are from 2000 to 2017. What are the disaster trends? India faces high flood vulnerability and it needs preventive urban planning. Now why disasters are, what is the current situation right now? So it is found that lack of preparedness, India remains largely unprepared to handle natural disasters effectively. Supporting evidence are, these concerns are highlighted in a recent jointly report published by Socio-Economic Educational Development Society, SEEDS, and Center for Research on Epidemiology of Diseases, that is CRED. Flood risk in smart cities, as we already discussed, 56% of smart cities in India are vulnerable to flooding. Floods are a major disaster. Data scope is 2000 to 2017 and flood frequency is 11 years. Let us see some of the case studies and what are the lessons learned from that case studies, like Uttarakhand flood in 2013, cloud burst and landslides, which results in 5,000 plus deaths. Tourism and GDP were adversely affected. Gujarat floods, very heavy rainfall and severe flooding. More than 2000 plus lives were lost and large scale infrastructure damage took place. In Chennai, urban planning and resilience issues shoot up, major disruptions in metro city, and which raised concerns for future planning. So, what are the lessons learned from this? So, we need better preparedness, a better digital infrastructure, and community awareness and response critical. So, these are the basic lessons learned. Now, what are the role of technologies in disaster management? So, first is IoT sensors for real-time data, Internet of Things, big data analysis for processing, which results in improved disaster prediction. So, we can control the disaster, we can control the intensity of the disaster if we foresee the magnitude of the disaster. And for that foreseeing, we required Internet of Things and big data analysis. So first of all, let us see what is Internet of Things sensors for real-time data. These are sensors which collect real-time data, structured data from the environment, while platforms like Twitter provide unstructured data relevant to disasters. It enables device-to-device communication via internet, which significantly improves the data collection and transfer efficiency in disaster management. A key challenge with IoT in disaster response is continuous and large-scale data generation, which leads to complex storage and data management issues. And for addressing this, effective data filtering system is required. The compression and storage solutions are needed to manage and utilize the most relevant data. Let us compare about big data analysis for processing and Internet of Things. So definition is Internet of Things means all the things are connected with internet, all devices are connected with internet, they exchange data, they collect data, they give data. Big data analysis basically deals with analyzing of the large and complex data sets. Primary function is data collection for Internet of Things, while primary function of big data analysis is data processing, its analysis and its interpretation. The most important thing is interpretation, which further helps in decision making. Data type, which is real-time data, sensor-based data, structured or semi-structured data. Whereas analysis deals with historical and real-time data, structured, semi-structured and unstructured data. The Internet of the Things depends mainly on hardwares like sensors, devices, actuators, whereas big data analysis relies on softwares, algorithms. We all are very well versed with algorithm tools, AI and statistical tools. What is the role? The role of Internet of Things is it is a source of data in digital ecosystems, whereas big data analysis acts as a thinking medium, an intelligent driver deriving value from that data. How useful that data is can be known with the help of big data analysis. What are their roles? Internet of the Things detects and reports environmental changes and hazards in real time, whereas big data, as I said again, analyzes the collected data, which helps to prepare a prediction model and optimize the disaster responses. Here is data management. As we are discussing about disaster management cycle, let us first see the phases of disaster management cycle. So prevention, mitigation, preparedness and response and recovery. These are basically 5 phases of disaster management cycle, where prevention and preparedness are pre-disaster and response and recovery are post-disaster, as you can very well see from this figure that these two, preparedness and prevention, are before occurring of disaster. Response and recovery are after the disaster or after the event has taken place, and in between there is a crisis, there is a disaster going on. So let us see one by one. First and the foremost thing is prevention. The purpose of prevention is to stop the disaster from occurring or to prevent them from causing harm to the communities or critical infrastructure. Examples of preventive measures are building of dams or levees to control floodwater, controlling burning in bush fire prone areas to reduce fuel and fire risk. Prevention can also involve laws such as land use regulations which stop development in disaster prone areas, example floodplains. The terminology note, some countries combine the concepts of prevention and mitigation under a single umbrella term, that is prevention or mitigation. Now what is mitigation? It focuses on programs that reduces disaster impacts rather than fully preventing them. Prevention versus mitigation. As I said earlier that some countries classify building codes as prevention and mitigation, especially with advances like earthquake buildings. Mitigation means it aims to lessen the disaster effects through appropriate measures when full prevention is not possible. Examples of mitigation include enforcing building and safety codes, controlling hazardous materials, protecting key infrastructures, and planning of infrastructure away from high risk areas. These are some of the examples of mitigation. Now let us see about preparedness. So if we say that I am well prepared means we are ready to face it. Preparedness involves measures that help government, organization, communities, individuals to respond quickly and effectively to disasters. What preparedness we requires? Like updated disaster plans, emergency actions like evacuation, warning systems, emergency communication, public awareness and training programs. Now what is the importance of individual preparedness? Personal as well as family readiness is often overlooked but very crucial, especially when government resources are limited. Warning, threat and precaution are three sub-terms of preparedness. Like warning, hazard is identified but it is not yet threatening. Means it is simply warning that it may take place. Example, a distant cyclone taking place. Threat, hazard is approaching and it poses danger, that is threat. Precaution, it covers pre-impact measures like closing of schools, preparing generators or harvesting crops. These are all part of preparedness. Response, as we have seen that response and recovery comes in picture, comes in limelight when event has occurred, when disaster has taken place. So they are the measures which are taken immediately before and after disaster impact, mainly aimed at saving lives, protecting property and managing immediate damage. It includes activating disaster plans, search and rescue operations, providing emergency food, shelter and medical aid, conducting the damage assessments and evacuation. Time frame. Time frame is very short in this. It is an emergency response system. This phase typically lasts for 2 to 3 weeks after the impact and may involve a declared state of emergency if impact is very high. While some other considers all post-impact part of the response phase, for practical purpose, user handbooks often separate response from recovery because recovery is a long-term process. Recovery helps communities and nations to return to normal functioning after a disaster, and this may take 5 to 10 years or more. Main category involves 3 activities: restoration, rehabilitation and reconstruction. Typical recovery measures include restoring of essential services, repairing of homes, infrastructure and providing temporary housing, and supporting physical and psychological rehabilitation. It is a post review. A critical part of the recovery reviews should be conducted promptly to evaluate recovery efforts. Now, after seeing all this disaster management cycle, one of the key components is early warning system. What are early warning systems? These are very crucial, very crucial for disaster risk reduction, which helps in saving lives, reduction in property loss. In India, specific government agencies which monitor hazards and provides alert to emergency operation centers, which we call EOCs, which then issues warning. So first and the foremost element of early warning system is knowledge of risk, identification of risk. How much risk is there? So risk is defined as hazard into vulnerability. Risk assessment involves studying patterns, very important part, studying patterns, trends and mapping to identify high risk areas or hotspots. The element 2 and 3 includes monitoring and communication. Once we have identified hotspots, we have to continuously monitor them. And clear actionable warnings are disseminated to the communities through various channels. And last is public response. Effective early warning systems requires that communities or the addresses should understand the seriousness of the problem, the seriousness of the hazard. It should trust the agencies and it should respond alertly within the time frame to ensure safety. Some EWS agencies in India are IMD, Indian Meteorological Department, which basically focuses on rainfalls, cyclones, heat waves, cold waves, and provides a very crucial data for agricultural planning and disaster preparedness. The another agency is Central Water Commission, which issues flood forecast by collecting hydrological data. It analyzes that data and it disseminates warning. During monsoon season only, around 6,000 forecasts are made to help people and move to safer areas. Another agency is GSI, Geological Survey of India, which conducts geological surveys. It monitors and forecasts landslides and creates landslide zonation map. It creates landslides zonation maps. And fourth is Indian National Center of Oceanic Information System. It operates a tsunami warning system that detects large earthquake in Indian Ocean. Within 20 minutes, it alerts via mobile phone in 14 different languages within 50 seconds. So these were some of the agencies and their roles in EWS early warning systems of India. Now, what are smart city vulnerabilities? There are three important factors which are identified as vulnerable in terms of smart cities. First is high population density, rigid infrastructure, and higher economic loss. It is found that areas with high population density are more vulnerable to disasters due to concentration of people and limited space for evacuation. Rigid infrastructure or sometimes outdated infrastructure can exacerbate the impact of disaster, making recovery and response efforts more challenging. Denser the population, inadequate infrastructure, and greater is the economic loss. They are directly proportional to each other. Now, what are the solutions? The solution is building resilient smart cities. And for that, we required integration of ICT in planning. Means using information and communication technology in disaster planning, which will enhance data collection, real-time monitoring, coordination, improving decision making during emergencies. Community awareness programs are to be conducted, like educating and involving communities in disaster preparedness and response, which will help to reduce vulnerabilities and which will act as a proactive behavior in disaster situation. And a holistic development approach like sustainable urban planning, which incorporates resilience into urban design, ensures long-term safety and minimizing disaster risk by considering environmental, social and economical factors in the development of city, which we call a 360 development or holistic development. So the conclusions are: smart city and disaster management. Smart city must incorporate disaster management strategies into their infrastructure, leveraging technology, and enhance resilience and response capacities. Effective disaster management relies on advanced technology and detailed planning, ensuring quicker response and better preparedness for future risk. And our goal is disaster resilient urban India. The ultimate aim is to build a disaster resilient cities across India, which minimizes the impact of disasters and ensures sustainable urban growth. Thank you once again for listening to this lecture. Feedbacks are most welcome. Thank you.